Anthony and Nick Abbruzzese, welcome to The Real Build. How you guys doing today?
Good. How are you, man?
Doing good, Bill. Thanks for having us.
Good. I'm glad to have you guys on. This is a topic I haven't touched on, so that's why I was looking forward to having you guys on. You guys are the co-owners, along with your dad, family-owned business of Abbruzzese Floors in Long Island. So happy to talk some shop with you, floors, talk about all the stuff you guys are doing. You guys are killing it. I was looking at your social media. Love your work too. So with that being said, I always start out with a little bit about you guys. So who is Anthony and Nick Abbruzzese?
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Well, Nick Abbruzzese is a family-oriented guy. I love spending time with my 2-year-old daughter, my wife, my dog. Love working out and snowboarding. Something that I've picked up recently over the last couple of years would be reading. I was never a reader, but I try and read every night, just a little bit. That's been a big help in my life in many ways. Just, reading literally 10 pages a night. So that's helped me tremendously, as well as listening to podcasts. Mm-hmm. I used to just listen to the radio station and listen to the same songs over and over and over again. And, started making our commute work for us and listening to growth podcasts and entrepreneurial podcasts. And that's something that I really enjoy doing now. And I basically never listen to the radio anymore whenever I'm in the car.
Yeah. And so I'm Anthony, and, basically same thing. We being a family company and spending a lot of time with each other, we're all very close knit, and we all have, especially me and Nick, we're on the same thought process on basically everything. We're very aligned in family values, core values, everything like that. And reading, and, we all, it would be, I'd be repeating the exact same thing he just said. Outside of the snowboarding, I don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, and I can relate with a lot of what you guys are saying. I implemented reading into my life too. It's been a huge change. I'm doing 75 hard now. I got no choice to read right now, but it's one thing that I took away from the last time I did it too, is that it's something about doing that kind of pulls me away from the craziness. I mean, you guys are in the construction world, it's crazy, and I'm sure you guys are busy as hell up there too, because construction's just nuts everywhere. And it's kind of that takeaway, plus podcasts, like that's all I listen to too. The radio's kind of been turned off for a while, and the news, I try and get away from the news. I actually get a little bit of news from podcasts, but I try and stay away from the mainstream as much as possible, because I find my attitude and self-being is a lot better when I turn that off too, which I'm sure you guys are the same.
Definitely. Yeah.
You guys obviously being brothers too, working in the construction industry together, I can relate quite a bit to you. You have your ups and downs and so on. And are you guys polar opposites as far as, with me, my brother and I are pretty polar opposite. But we mesh really well that way because we don't really argue too much. I think if we were the same person, there'd be a lot of this. What do you guys see? Are you both polar opposites? You get along all the time? How's that doing in the family business?
So I think that our parents, anytime, it was funny because we never fought growing up or anything like that. Maybe once or twice, we fought or whatever. But my parents were always just like, you never fight with your brother. You never, no, they're your brothers. So, we have always been close that way. I don't think that we're exactly the same, because I think he compliments things that I'm terrible at, and I compliment things that he's not so good at. And it really makes it work. And to be honest with you, once COVID hit, the beginning of the pandemic, we had a lot of time. And by a lot of time, we basically didn't work for a week or so. And then we were able to divide up what I wanted to do versus what he wanted to do and what my dad needed to do. And we now have a much more clear structure as to where we're going and what our strong points are. And then as a result of that, we're able to play to each other's strengths a lot more. And, I think that has something to say with our personalities too. The things that I like to do are inherently things that I like in my personality, and the same thing with him.
Yeah, I can relate quite a bit with that too. My brother and I and my dad has kind of pulled out of the business quite a bit, but my brother and I have kind of our strengths of what we can deal with, how we can deal with. I'm better on the customer side with dealing with that versus my brother would rather be out in the field dealing with the subcontractors and so on, which he's better at because he's got a lot more patience. And then when I go in there, they know that I'm either pissed off or want something changed or asking for a better price. So, it meshes. Yeah, it meshes really well. So I can relate to you guys. I want to go into though before we get back into the family business is how did you guys get started? Why flooring? Obviously, your dad started the company, I'm guessing. Like, how did he get started in it? How did he bring you into it? Did you always think about being a part of the family business? How did that all begin?
Yeah. So he, our father used to work for a company, and he quickly realized that he needed to work for himself because he was just an entrepreneurial mindset and just wanted to be his own boss from the beginning. So he eventually opened up his own landscaping company, did that for probably 10 or 12 years or so. But up here in New York, winters get cold and he would have some major downtime. So our uncle had another flooring business, and he would work for him during the winter months and keep the guys busy, and realize that A, there's good money in it, and B, it's all year round work. So he quickly shifted to that and jumped ship with the landscaping and opened up his own flooring company and has never looked back since. That was about 15 years ago or so at this point. And for us, we would work for him on winter breaks from school, summer vacations, weekends occasionally, just keep him busy. And then after we graduated high school, we did the college route. We gave that a shot. We both graduated, but we always knew that the business was there as a fallback option, and very fortunate for that. And we always knew that our dad would welcome us with open arms. And so that's pretty much what we did. Once we graduated, we just kind of jumped on full board. And I've been in here, 9 years now?
I think so. Yeah.
And you 10?
Yeah, something like that.
Full time. But really, we've been involved since probably 15 and 16 years old, here and there.
As I'm sure you have, sweeping sites and doing all that kind of stuff.
All the grunt work.
Yeah, and that's what I always say. Yeah, the grunt work. That's funny you say that. It's just it's true though. It makes you. I've always said it was a love-hate thing with construction. I mean, growing up as kids, you hate it, and now you love it because you're actually able to be more involved in it, run the business, kind of, and put your input on it, how you want it exactly ran too, and actually help grow the business too, because you guys know stuff, probably modern technology and stuff like that more than your dad does. I mean, my dad, I show him stuff of what's going on with technology, video, all that. He goes, I don't care about that. He's like, I don't want to see that. And then he's throwing his phone around. He goes, you guys know this. I don't know this thing, and blah, blah, blah. It's just, and it's being able to kind of help grow that company, which it's rare too. I mean, second generations coming into a company, there's a lot of odds against us. That's the thing. And I think what created the passion to maintain and build that up is that work that he made you do as a kid. If you would have just been handed everything, then you probably wouldn't care as much as what you're doing right now. So doing those little things like sweeping job sites, picking up trash around, digging ditches, doing the stuff that nobody wants to do has made you guys appreciate it a lot more, I'm guessing, because that's the way I am. And that's how, and my brother is too. That's what was instilled in us. And we just want to keep building this thing and making it better now.
Yeah, I'm sure that like you and your brother can relate to this too. It's like a huge, because you hear that, what you just said, like how second generation businesses have, a high chance of failure, as I guess with all startup businesses, as well. But that's a huge fear of ours. Like dad sacrificed a lot to get us to where we started to take, step into the business. And from that point, we were just like that. I think that was like our driving factor for like, and it still is like, don't waste this opportunity that dad like sacrificed a lot for, and it's just like, I hear that all the time where like second generation businesses are, they the kids, the owner's son gets everything handed to him and everything like that. It's like, no, not over here. Not over here. We have sacrificed a lot, slept in vans, worked our asses off, for years and years, and still do. It's just, definitely earning it is a big deal around here.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more, because growing up, I got the same thing you guys probably did too, is, it must be nice, this and that you're getting. And then basically that expectation that everything was handed. But if people actually had to go through what I went through, I would go from football practice early morning on a Saturday, and my teammates would see it. I'd go straight to work with my dad. My dad would be like, I need you to work. I don't care if you just had practice. Everybody else would go do stuff, have fun, this and that. There I was. College too. When I went to college, and I stopped playing football in college, I would come on weekends. Everybody was partying. He'd tell me, come home. He's like, I need you to work this weekend. Drive down. One time I didn't have a car because I wrecked my car. He told me to hop on a Greyhound bus and drive down from Tampa. That's just the way he was. And he goes, I'll pick you up and there was a local Taco Bell. He picked me up and put me to work the whole weekend. So it's just, that's the way. People don't understand with second generation. And like I said, I think that's why we appreciate it so much, is just because of the stuff we went through to get to where we are now. And we're not handed everything on the way up either. It's not just, okay, here's $500,000 a year. Here, you can have a big giant piece of this company. You have to earn that. You have to earn that respect. And I think that's why you guys are into level 2 of building that thing up, because you all have a vision. You have a different vision than what your dad did. And I'm sure it's a higher vision of what he had, because he was that starting point, and now you're ready to take it to new levels because you the technology, these things. So I could respect you guys a lot, and how you what you're doing and so on, relate to you a lot as well. So that's awesome. Let's talk about what you guys are doing before we get into more family stuff too. Obviously, you on your website, you guys are doing concrete finishing, refinishing, epoxy, polished concrete, leveling cement, and moisture mitigation. Let's talk about those a little bit. Your processes, what you guys are doing. I saw your website. Your work looks phenomenal too. There's a ton of people wanting epoxy in houses now that we're doing too, and some of your floors and everything. So let's just talk about your processes with your business.
Well, thank you for that. I guess we can start off with like the basic, process, just to go in and start basically any of our floors. We have to start off with the prep and grinding. Obviously this all comes after like site viewing and everything like that. But we have, large grinding machines run on big electric, and they're, 32-inch grinding machines that we go in, grind floors completely clean in order to prep them for any kind of product, self-leveling, epoxy, or even when you want to do concrete polishing, because you have to get down to the actual substrate of the floor, the actual concrete, in order to polish that. So starts off with that, and then it shoots off into many, many different directions regarding what the client wants. So if you wanted self-level, then you would grind the floor, patch it, apply the self-level. Epoxy, same thing, grind it, but to I would say a much smoother finish, in order to make sure that the epoxy lays right. We have to patch the floors and all that. So it really depends on, it's all job site dependent and what the client wants. Okay. So it can all vary.
As far as like the moisture mitigation, stuff like that, what are you doing with that?
That's the same thing. It all comes down to the prep. So you first just prep the concrete to basically make it look brand new again. That's how we leave it before we apply any of our next steps or next finishing steps. So like in Manhattan, you see everything there with these buildings that are 60, 70 years old. Yeah. And there's just layers on top of layers of glue, or even tile on top of tile, or just patch. And so you want to remove all of that first and get down to sound concrete. And with doing that, you essentially make the concrete look brand new again, even though it's 70, 80 years old. And then once it's completely that new look, that's when you can go ahead and apply, the moisture mitigation systems, which there's various systems out there. And those are big, especially in basements, anywhere near, water and
Mechanical rooms.
What's that? Oh, mechanical rooms. Yeah, definitely. We do a ton of it in mechanical rooms in Manhattan. So that's a big system for us.
So you guys are doing a lot of a lot of buildings, right? Like giant, big buildings, stuff like that. You're not just doing houses; you're doing the big stuff going on.
It's all commercial buildings, all in.
Wow.
I guess for us, it's skyscrapers. Whatever you want to call them. Like we're regularly on the 27th, 47th, 57th floors of any whatever building. Then we get some pretty cool views.
Yep.
Yeah. What's the biggest job you guys have had to do?
I guess like biggest as in terms of square footage. But there's also like, biggest in terms of material applied as well.
Yeah.
I would say, would you say
200 Park?
I think 200 Park was a big one. That was like almost 200,000 square feet of self-leveling that we did.
Yeah.
But then there was other jobs that we've done where it was like 60 Broadway, it was like deep self-level that we've done like from a pump truck. And it was, the floor was there. So what they were doing is downtown Manhattan, they were merging 3 buildings together. So all 3 buildings, when they broke down the walls, didn't line up correctly with the floor heights. So they were off by 5, 6, 4 inches. So we came in with, a pump truck and pumped that floor to make it nice and level. So all the buildings looked like natural one building. So that, as far as material applied, that would be one of the biggest jobs as far as that's concerned, because we've done now probably 4 floors there at several thousand square feet of floor at 5 inches. So,
it's a couple thousand bags. Easily.
Yeah.
So that's probably not easy getting up and down to different floors too, and getting concrete up and so on as well. I can only imagine.
Yeah. Especially in Manhattan, when you're working on the 40th floor, one of the big things that can really kill time on a job site is waiting for the elevator.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an unforeseen thing if you're not familiar with it, but these elevators can sometimes take 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get to you. So, if you want to run out to lunch, it could take you 30 minutes or so before you even get down to the street level. Then you get down to the street level, do what you got to do, come back. It could take you another 20 minutes before the elevator comes back down to pick you up and bring you back upstairs. So the elevators is definitely a challenge in a lot of these buildings that we go to.
But the cool thing with like the pump trucks, like I was talking about, is that they're able to be in the street, and these things can pump up to, I'm going to say conservatively 30 floors from the street. And then anything past that, they would have to set up what's called stage pump. And then they would have a pump that it pumps into and then goes up even higher, because these things have pumped up 70 stories. And it's just a hose that it comes from the truck right to where you're working, and it comes right out of the hose and you're good to go. So that saves a lot of time. But it needs to be the right job, because you can't do it with like a small square footage. It's got to be a big square footage, because that truck pumps.
It comes out like a fire hose.
Oh my
God!
Yeah.
Like the volume that it comes out at, you have to move quick.
Yeah, there's videos of us on our Instagram and stuff like that with you see it.
It's like we use when we're doing slabs, but obviously they're not running hoses that far. I mean, a slab's right there. It's right in front of you. You guys are carrying these hoses all the way up these different levels of floors and so on. It's crazy how far they could actually go up and pump that too.
It is. They just go vertically, just straight up hundreds of feet. It's amazing.
Yeah, it like the little stuff like this too. I mean, it always is amazing. I mean, it's not little stuff; it's actually big jobs and so on. I shouldn't say little stuff. I should say the different stuff that you don't really think about too, of how you guys operate and go about it. Because it is a big job and it's a tough job as well. it fascinates me too. That's why you guys are here today, because obviously I haven't had anybody on like yourselves, and I'm glad to have you on too. On the epoxy side though, when you guys are doing that, obviously you're clearing the floor, like you said, scraping it, filling all the cracks, doing all that, and then basically colors, or what are they doing? Chips, colors, all that. What's the process of that? Is it just kind of, how do you come up with the different? I've seen some crazy looking epoxies. So
so we do all that. It really starts with the end in mind, the end goal of the space, and then that determines the system, like what the client wants to use the space for. So there's so many different types of epoxy systems out there.
Yeah,
not every system is the best one for every space. So something like a mechanical room, you'd want a high, heavy industrial type of a system that might have like a little bit of a texture to it to give it a little bit of grip that could withstand a beating, but still be, stand up to any water if any water was to spill out. Something like someone's garage, it's not so industrial. You don't need that heavy type of a system, and you would want some grip in the floor to make it, not slippery, but at the same time, you wouldn't want as much texture to the floor because it would be too hard to clean. So there's, we always try and talk to the client and start with the end result in mind. What are you looking to use this space for? And then come up with the right system for what they want to do.
Yeah. And there's also even epoxy primers. So for instance, we do a lot of polishable overlay systems, which are, you walk into a client walks into their space and they say, okay, I want to have polished concrete, but there's all sorts of like metal, like they're called metal walker ducts, where they used to, well, and they still do, they trench out the concrete, lay electrical and data lines in there, and then put a metal cap on the top of it. So if that's all running throughout, and then they removed it, and then there's all trenching everywhere, and the concrete's all different colors, we could come in and do a system that gives you a brand new slab, an architectural slab, and it gets laid down at 3/8 of an inch, and we can polish it. So in order to do that, you need to put down an epoxy primer. So you roll out the epoxy, broadcast sand into it to give something to give the self-level something to grip to, and also reduce cracking that happens. Always going to crack, but it reduces cracking. And, from there, that's your primer coat. So you could do that for a lot of overlay systems too.
Yeah.
So epoxy has a ton of uses.
Yeah.
And what you were saying with the colors and the flake, we've done a bunch of those as well. Those are always fun because there's just infinite amount of color, possibilities between the flake and the metallic epoxy floors. That's the kind of what, like, all the crazy designs. And
I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. The metallics are really cool because no two floors are the same. If you were to do one floor with one color and I was to do another floor with the same color, they would be two completely different, unique turnouts based off of technique and how you finish the floor, and which is really cool to, it gives the very unique floors to each client.
Yeah, that is awesome. That kind of takes me into my next question. I read this on your website. You guys said we care, two very simple but important words that the Abbruzzese Floors live by. We want to give the customer an experience that makes them understand that we were the right choice and awarded the job. Explain this a little bit too, because customer experience and customer satisfaction obviously is top of mind all the time. So talk about this a little.
So I think that the ultimate goal for, I think me and him started saying this to each other, probably a couple of years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago now, where it's like, how do we become the sub or the contractor that the client can't live without? So how are we, and everybody says, when you're listening to some of the mentors that we have and everything like that we share, it's how do you stand out? How does your company stand out? So we decided that, okay, we're going to look at what the other trades are doing on job sites and try and do basically take the good stuff, but also do the opposite of the bad stuff. So like there would be a ton of trades that come on there and it would be just a mess. Like all their stuff would be all over the place. None of their tools would be nice and clean. Their guys wouldn't show up as like a cohesive unit. They wouldn't have like t-shirts and stuff like that say the company name. So we started off with that. Came in and got everybody t-shirts. We'd never had t-shirts before. So we all got t-shirts. We all got, you know, as you could see now, like, you know, nice little pullovers, whatever, stuff like that, stuff to make us look like a cohesive team. That made a big difference. I can't tell you how many times like supers come up to us and they're just like, wow, you know, I know exactly who you are. It goes a long way to have a little shirt or a hat or something like that everybody wears, that it's a team. So then we also keep everything clean. We put everything together at the end of the night. All our stuff is at night. All our work. So we put everything together at the end of the night. All the guys totally care about all of our equipment. They dust everything down at the end of the night. We put everything in the correct spot. Everything is organized. And, you know, we always have open communication lines with our client. So it started where I do most of this. I contact mostly the supervisor of the job, and I make sure that our foreman get in touch with me, and I relate it right to the supervisor in order to make sure that his schedule can stay as close or, you know, limit delays as possible. So then that's my end of the thing. And then when we got to where Nikki is, he can explain where we wanted to go with the office side of things.
Yeah. So one of our failures for a long time was getting back to the clients in emails and not so much text and phone calls, because that was, you know, readily at our hand, but it was the emails that we were falling behind. So like Anthony was saying earlier, luckily we capitalized on the opportunity during COVID when we were shut down for a little bit to find systems and processes to make that, you know, much better than what it is and clean that up drastically. So getting back to our clients, you know, there's a ton of paperwork that has to get filled out, especially working in the city. Everyone needs to be OSHA certified, and a ton of safety documents and insurances and, you know, vehicle information in order to get access to the buildings. There's a lot of back end work that goes into it, not, you know, aside from the work itself. So that's one way we try and, you know, set ourselves apart, is just getting back to the emails as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I think that's one thing a lot of contractors struggle with is returning. I mean, it seems like one of the easiest things, but it's not. I mean, you're busy, you're in the middle of stuff all the time. You're dealing with different contractors, you're dealing with employees and so on. It's getting back to people and constantly follow up and so on. I mean, I've tried to get better at that. I still am trying to tweak it with myself, is getting back to customers during a lot of these stagnant periods. Like right now, we're having such long gaps between contract and actual build time now because we're waiting on trust drawings and so on, to where, you know, I did it last week. I called a customer and he was like, yeah, I was waiting for your call. You know, it's been a while. I was like, yeah, I don't mean to leave you hanging, but nothing's really happened. But that kind of made me realize, okay, maybe I should be calling these people, or at least text them once a week, even though nothing is happening. And I told them that nothing's going to happen for 18 weeks because I'm waiting on trust drawings. So, you know, it's just, we constantly have to kind of check ourselves with the follow up, even with subcontractors, and just following up with them and checking them and just doing our best and answering phone calls too with possible clients as well. You know, sometimes you're in the middle of things and somebody calls and they leave a message and it's a lead, and you kind of put that off because you're in the middle of something else. But I've been trying to get better at being more prompt on stuff like that too, instead of kind of dragging feet and saying I'll call that person back around 4 or something, you know, towards the end of the day, because I'm dealing with this, and this. So prompt customer service, follow up, all of that is just so huge, and it's tough, man. We all struggle. You guys know we all struggle with it because there's a lot going on in our business. So I can relate quite a bit.
Yeah, and you have and you and your brother and your dad, you guys have a lot going on too, because you're building multiple homes.
Yeah.
You have a ton of subs. I'm sure you guys, you know, have the same vetted subs that you use on each job, but you know, you're still having open communication on what ceiling is getting done, what molding is going in, what lighting. You have a lot. And then by the time you get to the end of the day, you're like, oh man, I wanted to contact the client. And you're like, and that's the same thing that we do. Like all of a sudden it's 5 o'clock, and it's not like our day ends at 5 o'clock or anything like that, but we feel terrible contacting people when, it's after 5 or 6 or 7, stuff like that, but I totally relate, because you have a lot on your plate when it comes to that. And so like like you said, it's something that we all struggle with. And we like shooting somebody a text just to say, hey, here's where we're at. It could go a long way with somebody just to have that line of communication.
Yeah, and I've found out the importance of just checking in. That's all people want too, especially clients. They just say a simple text that says, "Hey, we're still at trusses. I know it sucks. I'm pissed too, because obviously if this job's not moving, we're not making money." I always reiterate that too, that it's not us. We want to build your house. We want to get this thing broken, the ground breaking, and start building this thing, because we have no payments coming in unless we're moving. So it's just reiterating stuff like that too. But it is a lot going on. And it's like you guys talked about, getting those processes in line and those systems that everything flows simultaneously down kind of the line, like an assembly line, to where you don't have to stress so much about it. And yeah, we've had a lot with all these delays and product, and it's just because the construction's so crazy. Having to pivot constantly has been kind of a normal thing for us. And it's not fun, but having to order things way earlier, like we went through a closet walkthrough for custom closets yesterday, and we're like talking to our closet guy. We're like, get this ordered right away. He's like, well, I need him to sign off on it. I'm like, you got it written down. Send it to us as soon as possible. We can't delay this. I can't have you sit a week, because we got houses sitting now that don't have closet material, like drawers, like simple things. The rest of it's done because everything's coming in so scattered. So everything's different now. It's just how we got to handle it, and people got to be understanding. But I think those check-ins with people help them understand more. Yes, they see what's going on by the news and all that, but still, for some reason, when it's their house, they don't really see that stuff, and they tend to think, well, why aren't you building this? What's going on? Why is this delayed? They don't really realize that the rest of the world's kind of delayed and having problems. So it's just kind of those check-ins, I think, help quite a bit for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Too. I want to talk to you guys too. You guys said we care about jobs before we even talk on the job site. We want to make sure that our customer service, fair pricing, and honest lines of communication are open to our customers. I want to talk about pricing on that. So how are you guys pricing jobs? What's the best way? Are you giving a lot of detail? How do you go about that?
As far as pricing is concerned, we're not the cheapest by far, but we're proud of that, because we like to deliver a quality premium service as well. So we don't shy away from our prices, and we go in as deep into detail as need be. A lot of times when we give proposals, they want to see breakout lines of everything. So we're willing to share whatever we need to. But we definitely, we have our price for a reason. And I think the client will ultimately see that as the project goes on and the completed project. And if there was any problems throughout the project or even after the project, we never run from our problems. We always, I don't think there's a problem. There's a job that we have to date that we weren't able to correct or get corrected one way or another. We've never ran from any issues.
Yeah, I think as far as pricing is concerned, something that people don't think of, because a lot of times in commercial construction, people tend to see they get the standard. Give me three prices. Then you see the lowest, the middle, and then the high end guy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say we are usually the high end guy, like a lot, middle to high end guy. And there's several reasons for that. Obviously, Nick hit on them, work, quality work, everything like that. But also we strive to really pay our guys well, because we talk to them and they say, hey, You know, I have kids now. Well, some of our guys have been with us for 12, 13 years, and we saw them come on as kids, and now they have their own kids, and they want to go on vacation. They want to have a good Christmas. They want to buy a new car. They want to get a house, and it's important to us to pay our men well in order to grow our team together, because they have dreams too. And our job is to make sure that their dreams can come true. That's how we always say it. And that's what we really mean. Because if you're not okay, why would you want to work for a company that doesn't, you're busting your ass, you're walking behind a grinder, you're schlepping cement, and you're getting paid the bottom dollar? Why? So somebody could just get a job? No, we're going to pay guys really well. We're going to attract great people to work with us on our team. And as a result, our price reflects that. We're not our guys are professional. They are the best. They're the best in Manhattan. They are quality guys that genuinely care about being there every single day.
Yeah, I love that. It's so important too, because the cheapest price isn't always the best price. I did a podcast episode on that a long time ago, and it's the truth. A lot of people, and I get it on a weekly basis, people looking to pay for the cheapest house. What first question that fires off is, what's your square foot price? And in their mind, that's all they care about. Right away, I know we're not going to probably be the right fit. I still talk to them. And I still approach it in a way of, okay, how can I turn this into a possible client? But most of the time they're locked in on that of they need to be at this specific price. And most of the time I tell them, I go, your time's valuable. I don't want to waste it. What's your budget? What size house are you looking to build? Okay, you're looking to build 2,600 square feet. Well, we specialize 4,000 and up. What's your budget? 650,000. Yeah, I couldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's just, I don't say it that way, but I say it in a nice, just saying, yeah, good luck. I'd just be careful. Sometimes I warn them, if you're going that cheap and somebody's builder says they can do it, just make sure you do as much research as possible, just to try and help them out, because around here it's tough to build that much square feet with all the concrete and all truss work and all the different things. But without getting into that, it's important what you said too, going back to the employees, in taking care of your employees, making sure they're taken care of, because they're a representation of you. And I just had Ryan Austin was on my last podcast, and he talked about how much he nurtures employees and gives them kind of the leeway to make decisions within his business, but he pays them, and the better, more production they do, they do get paid for it, because they're what's molding his business into what it is. And that's true. So many of us as contractors want control. I'm guilty of that too, to where I want to see what's going on, kind of micromanage and so on, which isn't always a bad thing, but sometimes you just got to let people take control and be able to handle those situations as well. And that's how you get those good employees and build them up like you guys have, and you pay them well too. And that's why your guys' quality is going to be top notch compared to the guy that's $100,000 cheaper on a bid. His floors are all going to crack right away, and they're guess who's going to have to come back and fix it? You. Because they're going to call you guys and say, oh, should have listened and should have just went with you guys to begin with. And you guys, then you guys do a good job. They don't have to worry about anything. People don't think that way. There's a lot of price driven people, unfortunately. It's just our job to kind of teach them. And that's why you're on this podcast. That's what this podcast is about, is teaching people, price isn't always the best fit. Yeah, it's important, but it's not always the best thing to look at too. So.
Right. No, and you nailed it with that. I mean, not to pat ourselves on the back, but just to piggyback off what you said, that's happened so many times where we weren't the cheapest bidder. And a lot of times in Manhattan, it's the cheapest bidder wins the job, gets awarded. I'm sure it's like that everywhere else,
especially in commercial too. You guys got the bigger battle with it, because you got these contractors going in that want the cheapest bidder. But I not sorry to cut you off, but I don't. I deal with it with my subs. I've had customers ask me, well, can't you get other bids? I do. They don't need to, I do to check my subs. I got to keep them honest, but I'm going to go with my guy 100% of the time, if he's a little off, if he's a $5,000 difference or 10, whatever, because I know the quality of work he delivers. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, like Nikki was saying, like we've gotten a lot of those calls where, hey, we had this job. Can you come take a look at it? Something happened with it. We don't know. So we go look at it, and we obviously do our best to remedy the situation. And for your construction sites, anybody walks into a Ryman house, you see those ceilings and the details that go into anything.
Yeah,
and the frontage that you guys create on these homes is freaking amazing. So you're not going to get that with the cheapest guy, or, again, don't go putting yourself in the poorhouse to hire Ryman or Abbruzzese, but, make sure that when you know what you're looking at when you come to us. We're going to give you a good product. It's going to be worth the money. If you're going to spend it, make it worth the money.
Yeah, and it goes into those little details off of that too. I'm sure with you guys paying attention, if there's a mess up, you guys fix it. You're there. You take care of it. If there's something wrong that should have not have been wrong, you guys go back. It's just, that's why they're paying that extra money too, is not just for the short term benefits, but the long-term benefits as well. And that's what I always tell people. Same with you guys. You guys are doing a quality product. You're going to over deliver, and then you're always going to go back. If it's something that shouldn't happen, that's the way we are too. Like I get calls like, hey, Bill, I had a couple pool tiles fall off. This house was a year and a half out of warranty. I sent my pool guy over there because why is this freaking pool tiles falling off? I said that to my pool guy. That shouldn't be happening after a year and a half, or after 2 years. And it's just stuff like that we're going to take care of. And a lot of builders don't do that. They don't go that extra the little things like that, because they're like, you're out of warranty. Here's my contract. You can call him. You can deal with him direct, or call a different pool guy, because they don't want to deal with it. That's not the way it should be. You build with us. You guys, you guys know this too. They do their floors with you guys. They're going to get a quality product that you guys are going to put your name on it, and it matters to you. That's why you over deliver on it, because your name's behind that product, and then they're going to tell people and how much their experience is, and it just spreads over time. And that's that long-term play too, which is so important.
Exactly.
So, what are we at? Let's just real quick, let's go back. I kind of want to go back into the family business stuff, because I love talking about this. I want to talk about some pros and cons of family business. What are some pros? What are some cons that you guys have experienced?
Obviously the pros are that we're together every day. It's great working with your family. For us, the three of us, we get along really well. There's really limited arguments or fighting, rarely ever. And you could just have open lines of communication with each other at all times because of that family bond. But we have definitely found more pros than cons on a daily basis, working together as a family, for sure.
I don't know of a con.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, I can't, because they're like, out of the cons that you could think of, like I don't think that any of them really apply. Like there's really, I don't see it. Like why? I could talk to him very easily. I could talk to my dad very easily. It's open lines of communication. If we need to say something, we just say it. Like it's fine. Like there's really no cons.
Yeah. I mean, I got to agree with you, because you have those moments where you're just like, I should, with you kind of, it's not arguments. It's just like my brother and I, we get along really well. It's just, sometimes you think with all the work you do and stuff, maybe you should get paid a little more here and there sometimes too, but it just takes talking to your dad and stuff like that to make that happen, and confronting him. So you sometimes have that resistance too. I mean, my old man's an ex-Marine, ex Vietnam veteran, so he's as stubborn as it can be too. And it's it's hard to approach him, but you got to approach him face to face too. But it is, like you guys said, that comfort level of all working together. Like my sister does our billing, my fiance does our selections. One of my best friends is he's our superintendent. we have a very tight niche group, and we've kind of formed that to now it's like, okay, when we hire, we got to find somebody that's going to mesh with that group. We can't kind of go outside of that because it's going to throw everything off. And I'm sure you guys feel that too, because it's just easy with family, like to talk and get through problems and so on, because you see each other all the time, even outside of work as well. So another question, we'll wrap this up before we get into some personal questions. What was your dad's influence on you guys as far as growing up, success, and so on?
Oh, well, a ton. And this isn't just because he's in the room over there. But yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah.
It's really everything. He set the example, like I don't think I could have done what he did, waking up and grinding the business as much as he did in the beginning. That's the ultimate example, So like, how do I complain? Where do I go? Like all we could do is follow that example, and like I said, just grow from there. That's the only example you need. Just that example, work hard, dedication. And I don't think dad never did it for himself. Like you never heard a dad saying like, oh, I want this or I want that. It was always just like, oh, everything for the family, So that's really that was his example.
Yeah. And on top of the hard work, it was always honesty. One of the things he would always tell us is, tell me the truth and you won't get in trouble. He just always wanted the truth. So, that stuck with us all throughout our lives. Just, no matter what conversation we were having, just to tell the truth and, never lie. Even if something was messed up on a job site, just, do your best, tell the truth, and just make sure you give solutions on how to remedy it if it's an issue, or what you're going to do to take care of the client. And so that, that honesty has definitely had a big impact on us as well.
Yeah, I love that. I can relate quite a bit too, because being honest up front too. I got that out of my dad as well, and just doing the right thing. I mean, that's plain and simple. Out of everything is doing the right thing, but work hard to do it. I mean, the hard work aspect of it that you said, Anthony, and growing up as well, being taught that, being pushed to, have to do things you didn't want to, waking up early. My dad used to whistle the reveille as when I had to wake me up as a kid. And I used to hate it, and it stuck in my head. This thing would be bright and early, and then he'd say, time to get up. Little Marine, start screaming, yelling, throw the blanket off of me, and it'd be bright. And, he's like, you got to go to work. And I hated it. But that stuff right there, because I knew friends were going to the beach having fun. There I am out on a job site digging ditches and hating life and sweeping job sites. But it's like we talked about earlier, that's what pushed us to get to where we are and gave us the appreciation we have for these businesses to better them as well. So like I said, got a lot of respect for you guys and what you do. Let's wrap this up. I always get into personal questions. So this one is a big question I ask everybody, to both of you. What about you personally? You guys are building an amazing company, family business that continues to grow each and every day. What lessons have you learned throughout your journey that we should all apply to our own business and our own lives to help us grow?
Getting back to the hard work, it always pays off, and it's always rewarding. It goes back to, that one saying that says, you never regret a workout, even if you hate and dread going to the gym and you don't want to do it. Once you leave the gym, you feel better. And that's, same thing that we've learned from hard work. Even if we're dreading going into a day because we know that it's just going to be a very labor intensive day or mentally taxing day, at the end of the day, you just feel better and proud of yourself for getting through it. So definitely, that's definitely a big takeaway for us. And also just the pursuit of bettering yourself, whether it's from books, podcasts, friends you hang around, just always trying to level up and be the best version of yourself. That's something we've been taking serious for the last probably 4 years now. Yeah. And that's just made tremendous impacts in both of our lives and our business lives.
Yeah. And I would say also a huge lesson for us is like always like just be humble and friendly, like I've heard this a bunch of times, like, oh, we love your dad. We love you guys. Like, you guys are so easy to talk to, nice guys, whatever. Like, it's who we are. Yeah. But also at the same time, like, there's a lot of people that can let a stressful day really get to them and freaking blow up. And I'm not saying that I'm like immune to that or anything, but they could carry over into another day and then into a week and then into a month. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're miserable. So I think having that, making sure that we're conscious of that, and also like, always thinking about things as if you're a beginner. Just be open to learning new stuff. Don't be stubborn.
I love it. Yeah. It's so important to just constantly be learning. And I mean, I know your dad's sitting there too. He instilled that, and everything you guys said, he instilled into you too, and trying to get better and progress yourselves and so on, and pushing yourselves to the next level and self-development, all that. And you guys are doing that too, because it's so important. I started kind of my journey probably about the same time you guys. I think it was like 4 years ago or whatever, where I was like, yeah, I think it's time to invest in myself, kind of start doing some different things and maybe spend a little money on coaching or something like that. I've never done it, never thought about it, and I did it, and just how far I've come in such a short period of time in every aspect. It's just insane. So it's been crazy. The journey's been crazy. I'm just getting started with it. You guys are as well. There's just a lot of stuff we can all learn, especially in this business, especially in construction. It's never ending. There's always something new. So love that answer. One of the last questions here. Most people talk about your past. Let's talk about your future. Where will we see the Abbruzzese brothers in 10, 15 years from now? Who will you guys be?
Well, we'll still be operating, our flooring business. And I think one branch that the three of us would like to go down is getting more involved with real estate. We'd like to get some rental properties under our belt, and maybe a couple of commercial buildings as well. And definitely head down the commercial residential real estate path.
Yeah, and I think definitely I agree with those things, and also like just continue meeting people like you, building our personal network, and if for nothing other than surrounding ourselves with people that are on the same path. It's very important to do that, because it's like you could be, and it's so true, is like what they say, like if you're hanging around 5 people of a certain belief, then you're going to be the 6th, like it's so important that once we found our group of people that we've slowly started to build in the last 4 or 5, whatever years, it's really changed our whole outlook on everything. And I want to continue to do that in order to stay on the path, really.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You guys come down to Naples, you guys could always give me a call. We're definitely hanging out too. If I go up your way and to Manhattan, I'll be giving you guys a call. So it's all about the connections, the group. And it's like you said, the people you surround yourself with. If I would have never done these groups and so on, like I got a lot of friends here, but a lot of them aren't as ambitious as I am. And being involved in these groups and getting around people that push me and I can see that are willing to level up like yourselves and want to keep going, it just pushes you even more. I flip through my Instagram and that's all I see now, because I've gotten rid of a lot of the, people that are just posting drinking stuff on the beach and not really doing much.
I don't see any of that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't see any of that anymore. It's all about who's building what and doing this and conquering that thing that they wanted to do. And I'm just like, wow, it always makes me feel far behind.
Yeah. And that's what you want. And that's what's going to keep you going too. Because if you have that mindset of, I'm still not even close, I want to get to this point, and keep pushing yourself to get there and see that stuff, it's going to keep pushing you. How can I do this? What do I need to do here? And my fiance thinks I'm crazy sometimes, but I want to sell our house right now because I can make money. She's like, where are we going to go? We're getting married in November too. You're going to sell our house before the wedding? Yep, we'll figure it out.
Well, fortunately, you build them. So.
Yeah, I'd build one right now, but I don't know. Stuff's a little bit
it would take a
slow.
while.
Yeah, so I might just move backwards to move forwards is kind of what I'm thinking. So things slow down a little bit. Last question: what the show's all about? What exactly do people need to look for when choosing a flooring contractor like yourselves? And why should they choose Nick and Anthony as their go-to flooring contractors?
I would say when you're looking at a flooring contractor or any contractor, just make sure that you feel comfortable with them. Are they putting up some kind of wall when they're talking to you, like, hey, yeah, I could grind your floor and I could do the epoxy or whatever? Or are they being open with you, like, hey, this is why we grind the floor. This is when we get it up to this point, we put the epoxy down, or up to this point, then we start patching. I'm going to be here and then I'm going to do this and this and this. They're going to be open lines of communication with you. And that's like anything, like, hey, I'm going to sheetrock your wall. I'm going to put the insulation first, then I'm going to put the sheetrock up, then I'm going to do the spackle, all that. It's making sure that you're comfortable with them, and make sure that the person that you're going with is knowledgeable and understands what they're doing, and it's not like some fly-by-night guy that's just looking to make a quick buck.
Right. And the knowledgeable guy is definitely a good guy to start with, but also just having that trust, like Anthony was saying. We've been told before that our price was a little too pricey and that they would be looking to get another quote from somewhere else. And we have told people before, like, hey, let me know what the other guy is doing in his process, just so I could have a better understanding and see if it's maybe not the right process that you need, and maybe he's missing a crucial step that you need in order to achieve what you want to achieve as the final outcome. And even if you don't go with us, that's fine, but let us help you even if you don't go with us in any way possible.
Yeah, I love it. Thank it, guys. This has been awesome. I do appreciate your time. I know you guys got to get rolling too. It's been great having you guys. Great discussion too. I mean, I can relate with you guys a ton as far as the family business. So yeah, Nick, Anthony, I really do appreciate you guys coming on and taking your time today.
Well, thank you too, man.
Thank you. Yeah. Same. Your feelings really mutual. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch for sure, obviously through our groups and so on. And I appreciate you guys. And for everybody listening, thank you all for listening. Oh, last thing, where can people find and connect with you guys before I go?
Our Instagram is Abbruzzese Floors, and my personal Instagram is Abbruzzese. We shortened it because it's a little lengthy. So my personal is Abbruze.
And mine is ANTABRUZE. And then from there, from either of our pages, you'll see that we tag our business page and you can go straight from there.
Yep.
Awesome. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. I'll see you guys on the next one.